Hey everyone. This is a very special edition of the Video Attic. So we're going to be talking about the Sergio Martino collection. And yep. So Dylan, you had the great idea of wanting to do a separate video and talk about these. I was actually really excited when I originally talked about this in the Video Attic because I'm a huge Giallo fan, and I'm also specifically a huge fan of Sergio Martino. And I said something like, "Oh, I'm so excited to hear what you think." And you, like I said, you had the great idea to just do a whole video about it. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So throughout this video, I know you'll be showing off some of the packaging and the individual titles. So jumping right in, which one was your favorite?
Yeah, so as I've discussed on the Video Attic a little bit, I'm kind of more new to the world of the Giallo films, probably just in the last year or so. I've really been watching a lot more. And from these, I would say my favorite is, these have such great titles, like the Giallo films have such great titles, I don't want to get it wrong. Your Vice is a locked room and only I have the key, which is just one of the most amazing titles that I've found. So we have that one. I like, and I'm feel stupid about this because I just recently reviewed Blue Underground's Two Evil Eyes, and I'm familiar with the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Black Cat, but it wasn't until I was reading the synopsis on the back, and I was like, oh, this is basically The Black Cat, but as adapted by Sergio Martino, and jazzed up with a lot more nasty, murdery stuff. But I had a lot of fun with it. I like this one probably most of all because it's really psychological, and just having the lead woman. For those who don't know, it's about a couple, one of which the guy is kind of an abusive husband figure, and people in his life start getting killed, and he is a prime suspect in the murder. But he claims that he is innocent, and then his niece from out of town also comes to stay with them within this little toxic bubble, and then people keep on getting killed, so you're trying who is behind the killings, and what is exactly happening. And I don't want to reveal what is happening, but there's a lot of fun mind games going on that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and having said that, we are going to try to talk about these movies in very broad, sort of vague terms, because we don't want to spoil it, because we definitely think that these movies are really worthwhile and worth checking out. Yeah, I really like Your Vice, and actually I have this set also,
oh, cool.
Yeah, which also has that,
Oh, nice.
and it also has the Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat,
Okay.
which if you're kind of curious about this set, it's out of print currently, this edition of it, but these are available individually. And if you're curious about those, I can link those in the description as well. But yeah, really fun. It's funny because I was rewatching these again, just a sort of refresher before this chat, and I was watching this morning, and I mean, it is very of its time. There is a lot of sexism,
racism.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you know, and like it's kind of a theme in a lot of giallos where there is this sort of a lot of people have like called these movies like very misogynistic, and certainly it's, you know, unfortunately a lot of these movies do have a lot of like sexual violence, which I find hugely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of part and parcel, I guess, for the Giallo films. I know that like Lucio Fulci, especially, is somebody that is a little bit divisive when it comes to, you know, if his movies were truly misogynistic or that was just sort of the like what was popular and being made. From all accounts, Lucio Fulci and these other directors weren't actively hating women. It just was sort of the culture, unfortunately, and you know what sold tickets. You know, it's not an excuse of it, but you know, it's certainly to say if that kind of stuff makes you uncomfortable, you might want to maybe not get into giallos, because there's a
Pretty
lot of
much, yeah.
it.
I'll just say I haven't invited my wife to really like luxuriate in a lot of these because I know she would hate them.
Yeah, the um yeah, and you know, it's one of those like where, you know, a lot of the cannibal movies will unfortunately have like real animal cruelty. It's just one of these things that like it's just kind of in its DNA, like this overt you know, sexism. But then, you know, there are a lot of, I think, powerful females in a lot of these giallos that tend to get overlooked out of the conversation. Like
Mhm.
Edwina French is so amazing. I love everything she's in.
Mhm.
It was kind of cool. It was like this random tweet and I tagged Eli Roth, and it was just one of those tweets that like was like, how amazing is it to think about how Edwina French came out of retirement for Eli Roth's Hostel 2? And I
Mhm.
tagged him in it, and he actually like replied and was like, it was amazing. It was like a dream come true to work with her and stuff. But um yeah, so you said your Vice as a locked room and Only I Have the Key is your favorite. Did you
Yeah.
have a least favorite out of these?
Uh, yeah, I was a little unsteady, I guess, on I will say the suspicious death of a minor.
Hmm.
Just because it was a little bit tonally all over the place. And uh, I mean, it was interesting, but it it really just seemed like very frantic and erratic, and like I couldn't quite get a handle on the plot at all times. I knew what was happening, but there's like a policeman character who, like, after a while, I was like, I kind of like got it in my mind that he wasn't a policeman just because he was doing all this heinous stuff, just like kidnapping prostitutes and like almost strangling women, or like women to death, like women who work the front desk just to get like some information. And I was just like, what is going on with this guy? Like it's insane. Like, because the basic plot of this is that there is like a young prostitute who is killed, who he knew, and he's trying to solve the case. And he goes to some really drastic places to like try to solve this case. And he teams up with like this guy who he meets, like who's like a thief. Like, I was gonna say a pickpocket, but he like drives up and like snatches purses. And he's like, oh, that guy seems like enterprising. I should like track him down and get him on my team. So it's like an interesting like buddy movie where they're just like teaming up to like do some really horrible stuff. But like I I liked all these movies to a certain degree, and there's things I really appreciate about all of them. There's especially one shot near the end of a Suspicious Death of a Minor that I was really impressed by. And I'll just say it involves uh, a movie theater has like a roof that opens up from the top, and I will just say something really thrilling happens where like characters are in peril and you're wondering if people are going to fall to their death. I'll just say that. And just the way that was shot and like framed was really interesting to me, and like really like I was like gripping my seat because I was just like thinking about what will this look like if someone does fall from this height and stuff like that. But like those individual scenes I really liked, but some of like there was like some really slapsticky moments too, with like the police detectives making like weird jokes at the beginning, and like it just, some of the stuff just didn't really quite gel with me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I would think that it is, character motivations are definitely very sketchy. That's also kind of part and parcel, but yeah, I would agree that like tonally it is kind of all over the place, which is like I don't know, in my opinion, like the best giallos are just weird, trippy, dreamlike, just totally expressions of the id. Like I think if you want to check out stuff that's a little more psychedelic, I think like Lucio Fulci's Lizard in a Woman's Skin is definitely like one that I highly recommend. The other one is it I'm sorry, it totally just, I had it in my head and I can't think of it. I'll randomly think about it and yell it out.
It happens.
Yeah, but and these are really it is a nice curation, I think, like a sampling of Martino's work. I would say as a whole, they're not my favorite examples of Giallo. Again, even though I like Sergio Martino a lot, like there's like a Torso for me is like really one of my favorites. It's a Giallo, but it's Giallo, but it kind of dips its toes into like the slasher sort of motif. But yeah, I think it's like I said, it's a good pairing. I think that like if I had to pick a favorite, I would probably also say Your Vice is my favorite. And I definitely think that I would also probably say Minor is probably my least favorite. Although, like I said, there's something about each one of them that I like. And again, I think Sergio Martino sort of has a really interesting way of like filming things. Like he certainly has a way with characters, really scummy, gross characters.
Yeah.
And like you said, that can be the good guy, quote unquote. So yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like you would like go back to any of these anytime soon, or
yeah, especially like I didn't get a chance to talk about this one yet, but I mean I did really enjoy the Case of the Scorpion's Tail, mostly because that kind of had like a Hitchcockian structure, and I will just say it has some similarities to the narrative arc of Psycho, which I found really interesting, with POV characters on and who we focus on. That's one about a woman who has potentially arranged her husband's death in a plane crash to like collect insurance money, but then she has to go to Athens to collect it and the insurance company hires someone to follow her because they're suspicious of him. And it turns into a whole thing with like murder and intrigue and like spurned lovers, and it's a whole thing. One thing I found interesting is that Martino seems to reuse like people throughout his work, because there's a reporter later in Scorpion's Tail who is the lead abused wife in Your Vice is a Locked Room. And then there were some other characters that translated over between that. And I like that he kind of like built up his like stable of players that he would like go to and utilize in very different ways, but in very effective ways. And I felt, at least from this set and like the Giallo Essentials sets that I've recently watched, especially Volume 2, the Yellow Edition, I feel like I'm getting a sense of like some of like the key players in the Giallo genre. So as I watch more of these movies, I'm becoming more aware. Like you mentioned Edwidge Finage earlier, which I listened to a piece about her by Kat Ellinger on Strip Nude for Your Killer recently. So I was like, oh, that was the lady from Your Vice is a Locked Room. And I like kind of connected with me. And I'm like, and then you mentioned Eli Roth, and there is an interview with Eli Roth on the Your Vice is a Locked Room disc, which I thought was really cool. So I think it's interesting you just kind of organically had that conversation with him, and like that's also like he did talk about her on that disc. So like as I gain more knowledge about everything, I do want to like go revisit even Giallos that I've already watched like in the past few months, just to get a new perspective on them. I think it's really like the more you learn about this genre, the more you kind of appreciate the differences and what one director does well compared to another. Because I'd mostly known like Argento, like everyone knows Dario Argento because he's like the main like icon of the genre. But then there's like, I didn't know about Sergio Martino. So like I'm learning what he kind of does a little bit, and I'm learning about a bunch of different other directors. So yeah, I think it's just with the knowledge I gain, I'm game to revisit all of these again just to see what I gather from them.
Nice. Yeah, I think that like it's interesting how you know, not only does like each director kind of bring their own, of course, unique style and vision, which of course you will get from director to director, but like they definitely kind of have their own sort of like place within the Giallo world. Like I would say like Mario Bava and Dario Argento were definitely more visually palpable. And I would say that like you have somebody that's like on the opposite extreme, which is like Lucio Fulci, where his giallos were very stylish, but they were also could be like very gory and actually legit upsetting.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody kind of in the middle, I feel like Sergio Martino, who, you know, again, kind of is in between that sort of extremes of the very stylish of Argento and the kind of ultra violent, you know, like style that Lucio Fulci had. So, have you seen any of Fulci's giallos, like New York Ripper or?
I don't think I've seen anything from him. I know I haven't seen New York Ripper. I know Blue Underground put that out 4K, I think a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was for me at the time, but now a current version of me, I'm like, I'm interested to check it out. So
Well, so yeah, I will say that just like full disclosure, if you know, it is not a date movie for sure. Like
yeah.
It's one of the maybe most outright skin crawling giallo that I've ever seen. It is something where he takes the most sort of intimate things about women and just completely eviscerates it, like morally and literally.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can be a tough watch. I mean, but again, I think that it's kind of supposed to be a tough watch. Like, it's sort of right to feel a bit grossed out by this. But another one of his that I really liked is Don't Torture a Duckling, which I'm like fingers crossed they do a 4K. I'm holding out on getting an Arrow edition of that because I'm hoping that they continue this trend of doing some really cool like 4Ks. Because that one I would be really excited to get. I had a couple DVD editions of that, but I don't have it on Blu-ray yet. But it's one of those that it's I mean, it's not as it's definitely not as unsettling as New York Ripper. I feel like if you can handle that, you can handle pretty much anything. Um, but it does like cover kind of topics of child abuse and some things that are very uncomfortable. But again, it's not in a way that's glorifying it. It's like you're supposed to be skeeved out by it. That's kind of the point of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's fascinating how like all these directors kind of have their own sort of like place as far as like giallos go. Like if I had to pick like my favorite giallo director, it probably wouldn't be Sergio Martino. It'd probably be maybe like Fulci, or I mean certainly Argento, like no question. I think that like my favorite giallo of all time is Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Oh yeah.
You said you've seen that one?
Yes, I've recently watched that, and I need to watch Cat of Nine Tails, and then I was gonna do like a video with those two in deep red to like kind of give my thoughts on those. So that's a tease for a future video.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to hear what you think about Cat o' Nine Tails and Deep Nine. Like Deep Nine is often considered Argento's best, although I feel like you're either in two camps. You think like Suspiria is his crown jewel or Deep Red. I'm more I think Suspiria is a damn masterpiece.
Seconded, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean Deep Red's really it's a great movie, but it's yeah, it's not it to me it's not his best. A lot of times he kind of like remakes Birth of Crystal Plumage a couple times. Like I know Four Flies on Grey Velvet, for example, is another one that is like a big fan favorite, but it kind of just it's sort of like a soft remake of Birth of the Crystal Plumage.
Okay.
But if you have a chance to see that one, that one's good.
Okay.
And it's not Argento, but there's a rumor that The House with Laughing Windows is coming to Blu-ray this
cool.
year. Also great title.
Yeah. They have the best titles. Like they're memorable, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing that I would recommend after all this like giallo exploration, I think it would be cool to see what you thought of something called like The Editor, which is a sort of spoof of the giallo genre, like right down to like the really weird dialogue and all the visual motifs. Like it's really clever. It's really well done. And then you have like some more like earnest like modern giallos like Amir and was it The Color of Your Body's something. It's like it's a long giallo-y title.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, All the Colors of the Dark was that movie that I was trying to think of. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, it gets confused in my head because there's a really excellent Severin documentary called All the Colors of Giallo. and I'm like, now that gets like mixed into my head with the other one. But yeah, it's that one's really cool because I kind of tend to like more like psychedelic, weird, like Bava did this really incredible Giallo that's very of its time, which is $5 for an August moon. Have you heard of that one?
I have not. I have a lot of catch up to do apparently.
Well, these are some recommendations for you, for some of our
Yeah.
viewers. Like if you like this box set, like absolutely rules. But you know, if you also want to sort of explore some other giallos that I think are really interesting and worthwhile, you know, it's getting into the giallo genre is so overwhelming at times. Do you feel like that?
Absolutely, because I'm just like, I hear like certain titles and stuff, and I'm like, do I just stick with the highest profile titles, or like what do I get to when I want to dig just a little bit deeper? So it's like Arrow pretty much has been guiding me in my viewing for right now and what they're releasing, but I'm curious to check out more.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, so like everything, the Rosetta Stone for my cinema education was Anchor Bay Entertainment. And they're the ones that turned me on to like old school Lucio Fulci, like classics like The Beyond, but maybe some more obscure stuff like The Black Cat. And like, you know, but I come to realize that a lot of my first Giallo movies, I didn't even really realize that was a sort of a film movement when I was watching them. But like Anchor Bay did like 2 massive volumes of Mario Bava, so I was checking out some of his giallos, and then like later on, Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling, and then like later on some like the Sergio Martino stuff. So I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, like I don't know if like the stuff that I necessarily started on was like where you're supposed to start as far as like what's maybe the most accessible and then work your way out. I feel like I've always kind of did that the opposite way. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's like funny because again, Anchor Bay like released a lot of this stuff, and then like Blue Underground, and between those two labels, like I probably saw a lot of these like pretty hallmark stuff like in high school, like when I was just buying stuff because it had cool covers. And then I realized, you know, I got to know like, oh yeah, okay, you know, Lucio Fulci. So I was starting to know like more specific directors and their styles and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. My advice would be just to check out everything and anything you can get a hold of. Just dive in, and you know, if you don't necessarily like it, you might like somebody else's style of giallo. It's great though. It's so vast. It's like it's like any genre. It's almost like there was so much of it. It's just like film noir. And then you know, now just like slashers, you have a lot of like modern sort of giallos. Like I haven't seen it yet, but I know like Edgar Wright's new movie is supposed to be very giallo-y, Last Night in Soho.
Yeah.
I still need to see that. I know that you covered it excellently in the Video Attic.
Thank you.
But yeah, I have not seen it yet, but I am excited to, because I'm a big Edgar Wright fan. And so without any spoilers, would you say that that movie was giallo-y, since we're talking about that?
I think there's elements of it, but I would say that it goes into some other directions that would take it out of the realm of giallo more. But there's elements, I would say. It's flourishes of giallo.
Yeah, like it's really interesting because like Malignant also kind of had some flourishes
Oh
of
yeah.
Giallo without really being sort of a pastiche of it. But yeah, I don't know. I love Giallos. I could just talk about it all day. But to focus back up, I know we're talking about the Sergio Martino set,
Yeah.
and it is really nice.
Yeah.
I know I talked about this a little bit in the video attic, but
Mhm.
a lot of people were kind of complaining that it's just sort of in this cardboard. It's not like in the usual, like really thick, like case. But honestly, the price is right. It's a nice
Yeah.
curated set, and there's nothing on here that's not on the individual titles. So again, it's a really nice sort of curated like library of, if you want an entry point into Sergio Martino. But again, it's fun because it reminds me of like Anchor Bay again. Like they had this really cool steel book of Argento stuff, which I
Mhm.
still have. And like again, that like was the first time I saw like Phenomena and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it's like I love these companies that just sort of like will um put together a little compilation of their own to sort of like get you interested in like finding more. So yeah, I guess to kind of wrap up, like you know if you had any final thoughts on Giallo or
Yeah.
this box set.
Yeah, I would just say I would echo what you're saying. Like, I think this is a really good entry point for Sergio Martino. From what I like between this and seeing Torso and the Giallo Essentials box set, he's a really fascinating filmmaker, and these releases are pretty great. I There's like a great commentary on Case of the Scorpion's Tail. There's some great video essays. There's new interviews with Sergio Martino. There's some archival interviews with like Sergio Martino and like Edwidge Finnick, and just like a lot of really cool stuff. And I guess I wasn't aware that these were released individually before, but I guess that makes sense why this isn't given like the limited edition treatment with like the booklet and everything. But if I was going to pick up these titles now individually, I prefer that they're in like a nice box set now instead of just like loose, no booklet and like how they are now. So like I like that they did release these again in this nice box set, and it's like a little bit cheaper than buying them individually. So I really had a good time with this, and I recommend anyone who's like trying to get into Giallo, like I am, to like check it out, see if you like it. There's some real, it's a nice array of different types of stuff within one director's viewpoint. And also, I just want to say to our audience, if you have any Giallos that you think I should check out, you recommend to us, like leave it in the comment section, because I'm on a journey and I need you to guide me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I know that again, it's really fun because I mean, I'm by far not an expert on Giallo. I've just seen a bunch, but like it's so vast that there's still like stuff that I need to see yet. So um I'm always definitely down for like recommendations. I also will say that I know you mentioned it, but like these again, they're so the essentials. And what's so kind of awesome is they like stuff like this kind of reminds me of like those old school like box sets from like Anchor Bay and stuff where again, I didn't really know a lot about like Argento, but then I started watching some stuff that Anchor Bay put out, and then I was like, holy crap, I love that. I want more and more and more. So again, I can also like link these in the description. Like I think these are really cool, and if you're also you know, wanting to sort of expand your, you know, Giallo knowledge, that's also a really good place to start. And, you know, it's definitely a good kind of indicator if you're going to like more, like some of the more harder stuff, like some of the like Fulci, like films. Yeah, I feel like we should do a whole video about New York Ripper. I feel like we should just do like a video addict and or not a video addict, my other show, Night of the Living Geeks.
Yeah.
And just talk about that because that is a wild movie. It is definitely, I feel like you either love it or you hate it. There's not a lot of middle ground with it. It's just, I feel like if you're sort of prepared for it being really nasty, it has a scene with a toe that is like something that is seared in my brain, and I've never seen it in another movie before. I'll just say that. But yeah, so with that, we'll probably wrap up. But again, I will link the Sergio Martino Set in the description. And if you guys want to check out the Giallo Essentials, I highly recommend those, and they're really awesome. The Giallo edition has Torso, which I love. I think that's my favorite Sergio Martino movie. It's probably certainly what he's probably most famous for. And it's also pretty delightfully nasty.
Agreed.
So yeah, you know, and like you said, if you have any Giallo recommendations, put them in the comments. And you know, if you enjoyed this video, definitely consider giving it a like, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. And also just thank you for hanging out with us.